Why being alone is so powerful. The spiritual meaning of solitude. What if your loneliness isn't a curse, but a calling? We're told that being alone means something's wrong, that if you're isolated, you're broken, that silence should be filled. But ancient truth, the kind your soul still remembers, says otherwise. Because the most powerful transformations don't happen in the crowd. They happen in the quiet, in the stillness, in the sacred space where the world fades, and your real self begins to speak. Have you felt it? That strange season when people drift away, the invitations stop, the phone doesn't ring like it used to. What if that wasn't rejection, but alignment? What if your soul is calling you inward, not to punish you, but to prepare you? In this video, you'll discover why solitude is not emptiness, but energetic power, why silence is not a void, but a mirror, and why your greatest awakening may begin the moment you finally stop trying to be seen and choose to see yourself. This isn't about isolation. This is about initiation. You were never abandoned. You were being returned to your own light. We live in a world that glorifies connection, stimulation, and noise. A world where being constantly on, reachable, seen, and validated has become the norm. In that world, solitude is often misunderstood. It's mistaken for loneliness, seen as a sign of disconnection, or labeled as something to fix. But spiritual truth tells a different story. Solitude is sacred. It is not lack. It is presence, unfiltered. Have you ever felt the pull to withdraw, not out of sadness, but out of necessity? A quiet voice inside saying, "Step back. It's time to listen." Not to the world, not to others, but to yourself. That voice isn't weakness. That voice is power. There comes a moment on every awakening journey when the soul gently, or sometimes forcefully, pulls you into solitude. It may come after a loss, a spiritual shift, or a period of emotional confusion. People begin to fall away. Invitations dry up. The phone is quieter. The energy changes. And you're left with yourself. No distractions, no masks, no background noise. At first, it can feel uncomfortable, even scary. We've been trained to fill space with activity, conversation, and distraction. We scroll, we binge, we call, we keep moving. Because to stop, to truly be alone, means we have to face ourselves, our thoughts, our wounds, our unmet desires, our silence. But here's the truth that only experience can teach. When you stop running from solitude, you begin to hear your soul again. Because solitude is not emptiness, it is a return to your own energy, to your own vibration, to your own voice. In this space, something extraordinary happens. You start to realize that much of what you thought was you was actually noise, opinions, projections, roles you played to belong. In solitude, those layers begin to peel, and what's left is truth. Who are you without the need to perform? What arises when no one is watching? What have you silenced within yourself to stay connected to others? These questions don't come from loneliness. They come from remembrance. Being alone allows your field to recalibrate. Your energy is no longer pulled in 100 directions. You stop merging with the thoughts and emotions of others. You begin to differentiate what's truly yours. What's aligned, what wants to stay, what must go. Have you noticed how your intuition becomes louder in silence? How your nervous system begins to soften without external pressure? How your breath deepens when you're not performing for the world? This is because solitude brings you back to energetic sovereignty, the power to know, feel, and hold your own vibration without distortion. And in that space, clarity begins to rise. You no longer chase answers. You receive them. You no longer perform alignment. You become it. Many ancient traditions knew this truth. Mystics, sages, shamans, and prophets all entered solitude, not as punishment, but as preparation. Because sacred separation always comes before divine revelation. The cave, the desert, the forest, the mountain, these weren't escapes. They were temples of clarity. And maybe, right now, You're entering your own inner temple. If life has led you into a season of solitude, trust that it's not random. You're not being punished. You're being initiated into deeper awareness, into stronger boundaries, into untamed authenticity. Because what you meet in solitude is not absence, it is essence. And once you feel that, you'll never fear being alone again. Why the soul chooses separation. There comes a moment on the spiritual path where everything you once clung to begins to loosen. People drift away, connections fade, plans dissolve. What once felt certain becomes silent. And suddenly, you find yourself alone, not by accident, but by soul design. This separation is not always physical. Sometimes it's emotional, energetic, a subtle distance between who you were and who you are becoming. You begin to feel different in familiar places. Old conversations no longer nourish you. The roles you used to play start to feel heavy, like costumes you've outgrown. Have you ever found yourself surrounded by people and still felt completely alone? Or sensed that a chapter was ending long before the world caught up? That is the soul, whispering, it's time to step away, so you can return to yourself. The ego resists this. It fears being alone. It interprets separation as failure, abandonment, punishment. But the soul knows better. It knows that true transformation requires space, sacred space where the old can unravel and the new can emerge. Space where silence becomes a teacher and solitude becomes a sanctuary. Your soul chooses separation when it's ready to rearrange your reality from the inside out. When the noise of the world has drowned out your intuition. When you've absorbed too many external energies, beliefs, and expectations. When the pace of life has pulled you too far from your own center. In these moments, the soul intervenes and pulls you back inward. This is why relationships may fall away, why doors close without explanation, why you feel a deep, aching call to withdraw, not from life, but from distraction, because something sacred is unfolding. And the soul knows it cannot bloom in chaos. It needs stillness. It needs emptiness. Not as a void, but as a womb, a place of gestation, of deep remembering, of energetic reformation. Have you noticed how much clarity arises when you're alone? How certain truths begin to surface when no one else is influencing your thoughts or emotions? How your body feels different when it's not adapting to the energy of a room, a relationship, or a role. That's not coincidence. That's you, unfiltered. In solitude, the soul begins to shed everything that was not truly yours. The masks, the personas, the entanglements that blurred your boundaries. And as you sit in the discomfort of separation, something profound begins to emerge. Authenticity. Not the curated self you created for the world, but the raw, sacred self that's always been underneath. You start to see what you've been carrying that doesn't belong. You start to hear the voice you've been ignoring for years. You start to feel the weight of old stories finally lifting. This is the reason the soul chooses separation, not to isolate you, but to initiate you into sovereignty, into presence, into deeper intimacy with your own essence. It is during these seasons of sacred solitude that many people receive downloads, visions, spontaneous healing, and intuitive clarity. Because your field is clear, your attention is undivided, your energy is no longer leaking into people, places, or situations that were never aligned. And when the time is right, when the integration has occurred, the soul will guide you outward again. But this time, you won't be seeking yourself in others. You'll meet the world not from lack, but from wholeness. So if you're in a chapter of separation right now, if the space feels strange, lonely, or uncertain, know this: you are not being punished. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are in the sacred space between stories, and your soul is rewriting everything from the inside out. In a world constantly filled with noise, distraction, and external influences, silence often feels like an unfamiliar and uncomfortable companion. It's as though we are afraid of what we might encounter when the world around us fades into stillness. But what if silence isn't something to fear? What if it is, in fact, a sacred mirror, reflecting the truth of who we are beneath the layers of society's expectations, other people's opinions, and our own self-imposed roles? Have you ever sat in absolute silence, with no distractions, and suddenly felt the presence of your own thoughts, your own essence, in a way that was both alarming and awakening? In those moments, you might have realized something profound, that silence is not a void, but a space where truth can emerge. When there are no external voices or influences, you are left with the purest version of yourself, stripped of all masks, judgments, and pretensions. This is the power of silence. It is a reflection of your inner world, an opportunity for the soul to show itself in its most authentic form. The noise of the world hides your true nature. It drowns out your intuition, making it difficult to hear the whispers of your soul. But silence brings clarity. It quiets the mind and opens the heart, allowing you to hear the deeper truths that have been waiting patiently beneath the surface. In silence, you are no longer playing a role. You are not the person you are expected to be. You are not the version of yourself that fits into societal expectations or the person others want you to be. You are simply yourself, without artifice. And in that space, your soul speaks, not in loud, dramatic proclamations, but in subtle nudges, in quiet whispers that you can only hear when you are still enough to listen. Have you ever noticed how in the stillness, your intuition becomes clearer? How the small, quiet voice inside you, the one that always knows the right path, the right choice, becomes louder, more distinct? In the chaos of everyday life, that voice can be easily drowned out by the noise of the world. But in silence, it rises to the surface, guiding you back to your true self. This is why silence is so powerful. It is a mirror that reflects what lies hidden beneath your surface. It reveals your essence, who you are when the world isn't watching. It's not always comfortable, and it doesn't always give you the answers you expect, but it gives you the opportunity to reconnect with yourself in a way that no other external influence can. When you look into the mirror of silence, you might encounter aspects of yourself that you've neglected, forgotten, or even rejected. Old wounds may surface, unresolved emotions may rise to the surface, and uncomfortable truths may become apparent. But rather than running from them, you are invited to meet them with compassion, understanding, and openness. The mirror of silence shows you not just who you have been, but who you are becoming. Have you ever been afraid of what you might find in the silence? Perhaps you fear facing the parts of yourself that you've hidden away or avoided. But remember, silence is not judgment. It does not criticize or condemn. It simply reflects what is, without distortion. And through this reflection, you are offered the chance to heal, to grow, and to evolve into a truer version of yourself. In the stillness, you can feel the energy of your soul, unfettered and untainted by the outside world. You can begin to discern what truly belongs to you and what has been absorbed from others. The clarity that comes from silence is not about instant answers or solutions. It's about reconnecting with your inner wisdom. It's about hearing what your heart has always known but could not express amid the noise of life. It is in this quiet space that you reclaim your energetic sovereignty. You remember what it feels like to be fully aligned with your own vibration, free from the external pull of society, family, and even friends. Silence is where you regain your power, the power to hear your inner voice clearly, to trust yourself, and to walk your path with unwavering confidence. As you spend more time in this reflective silence, you begin to see yourself in a new light. You begin to recognize the layers you've accumulated over the years, the roles you've played, the masks you've worn, the expectations you've tried to meet. And in this awareness, you start to shed them one by one until only your true self remains. It's not always easy to sit with silence. It can be uncomfortable, and it may stir up emotions you'd rather not confront. But this is the work of transformation. It's through silence that we find the courage to face ourselves, to face our fears, our doubts, and our truths. It is only in the mirror of silence that we can truly see who we are beneath all the noise. And once you have seen your true self, once you have embraced the reflection in the silence, something profound happens. You no longer fear solitude. You no longer seek validation from the world around you. You are no longer dependent on the external to tell you who you are. You are whole. You are enough. And the silence that once felt like emptiness now feels like home. This is the power of silence. It is not a void, but a reflection. It is not an absence, but a presence. And when you can sit in that stillness and look into the mirror of your own soul, you will come to realize that you were never truly alone. You have always had the answers within you. We live in a world that constantly demands our attention, a world where energy is exchanged, absorbed, and redirected in every interaction. We are taught to be connected, to belong, to give, and to receive. But in the noise of it all, have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what is mine? What if the key to your inner peace and power lies not in giving away your energy, but in reclaiming it? There's a subtle yet powerful shift that occurs when you begin to recognize your own energy. It's the moment when you stop merging with the emotions and expectations of others and begin to differentiate your truth from the noise. Have you ever felt drained after a conversation, or noticed how your energy shifts when you're in the presence of certain people or environments? That is the power of energetic exchange. And when you are not consciously aware of it, you can lose your sense of self, your sense of sovereignty. Energetic sovereignty is not just about setting boundaries with others. It's about setting boundaries with yourself. It's about recognizing that you are the keeper of your own energy. You are not a vessel to be filled by the thoughts, opinions, and emotions of others. You are the source of your own vibration, and you hold the power to protect, direct, and recalibrate it. But this process of reclaiming what's yours isn't always easy. It begins with awareness. Can you feel when your energy is being compromised? Can you sense when you're absorbing what doesn't belong to you? This awareness is the first step in protecting your energetic space. And once you become conscious of this exchange, the next step is simple: choosing to reclaim your sovereignty. You don't have to confront others to reclaim your energy. Sometimes, all it takes is the quiet decision to no longer give it away. It's a deep inner knowing that your energy is sacred, and it's yours to control. You begin to notice the subtle shifts within you. When you stop allowing your mood to be influenced by others, when you stop needing validation from the outside world, when you stop seeking approval to feel whole. This is energetic sovereignty, the freedom to stand in your own vibration without distortion. It's the ability to hold your own frequency, regardless of what is happening around you. And in this space of sovereignty, clarity emerges. You stop chasing answers because you begin to receive them. You stop seeking alignment because you become it. You may have heard of the concept of energy leaks, the subtle ways that your energy drains away from you without your conscious knowledge. These leaks happen when you allow your energy to be pulled in 100 different directions, when you engage in conversations that drain you, when you take on emotions that aren't yours, when you neglect your own needs to please others. But when you reclaim your energetic sovereignty, you begin to plug those leaks. You start to realize that not everything that comes into your field is yours to hold, and that the only energy that truly belongs to you is the energy you choose to keep. Reclaiming your energy doesn't mean isolating yourself. It doesn't mean pushing others away. It means learning to be present with others while staying anchored in your own truth. It means holding space for yourself, first and foremost, and then sharing that energy with others from a place of fullness, not depletion. This is the power of energetic sovereignty, the ability to be connected, but not lost. So, if you find yourself feeling scattered, drained, or disconnected, it's time to check in with your energy. Ask yourself, what is mine and what is not? Reclaim your power, your space, and your truth. Trust that when you step into your energetic sovereignty, everything in your life will begin to realign. What is the difference between loneliness and aloneness? What if the feeling of being alone is not a curse, but a blessing in disguise? In a world where connection is constantly sought, and the fear of solitude often prevails. We are led to believe that being alone equals something is wrong. But what if the real question is, what does it mean to truly be alone? And why do we so often mistake it for something negative? Loneliness comes from the sense of lack. It is that empty, aching feeling in the chest, the yearning for something or someone that we believe will complete us. It whispers in your ear that you are not enough, that you need someone else to fill the void. It is a hunger, a craving for connection that feels unfulfilled, a desire to escape the silence that rings too loud. Loneliness ties you to the idea that the world around you defines who you are. But aloneness? Aloneness is different. It is the conscious act of being with yourself, choosing solitude as a space to reconnect with your inner being. Aloneness is the energy of presence. It is not empty. It is filled with you. It is the understanding that you are whole, even in silence, and that your worth does not depend on the company you keep, but on your own connection to yourself. Aloneness is not a lack. It is a return to your own essence, a recalibration of your energy, a remembrance of who you truly are when the world's noise fades. In the stillness of aloneness, there is power. There is an invitation to explore the depths of your own soul, to meet the parts of yourself that you may have abandoned or ignored. Aloneness offers you the space to listen, not to others, but to the whispers of your own heart. It is not a feeling of absence, but of complete presence. When we feel lonely, we are reaching outward, grasping for something outside of us to fill the gaps. But in aloneness, we turn inward. We seek not the validation of the world, but the peace that comes from self-acceptance. This space allows your true voice to emerge. In this quiet solitude, you begin to discern what is truly yours, what has been molded by others, and what has always been waiting inside you. So, how do you distinguish the two? It's in the energy. Loneliness pulls you away from yourself, a desperate desire for outside affirmation, while aloneness invites you into yourself, into the sanctuary of your own energy. Loneliness speaks of disconnection, while aloneness speaks of integration and wholeness. Have you ever noticed that in moments of solitude, the mind begins to quiet? The external pressures diminish, and the noise of the world fades. What remains is the truth that has always been present, waiting for you to hear it. It's not the silence of loneliness, it's the stillness of aloneness. And in that stillness, something profound happens. You reconnect with your own essence. Aloneness allows you to grow. It gives you the space to reflect, to process, to heal. Loneliness, on the other hand, keeps you in the loop of longing, of yearning for something external to complete you. But once you've felt the grace of aloneness, you realize you were never truly empty. You have always been whole. So the next time you find yourself in solitude, don't confuse it with loneliness. Allow yourself to sit with your own energy, to feel the fullness of your own being. Aloneness is not something to fear. It is the most sacred of spaces. It's where you meet yourself, in your raw, unfiltered truth. And in that truth, you'll discover that you've always been complete. What awakens in you when no one is watching? There is a quiet truth in the moments when no one is watching. It's easy to overlook them, to believe that the real work, the real transformation, happens in the spotlight, in the presence of others. But what if the most profound awakenings occur precisely in the silence, when you are alone with yourself, with no audience to witness your journey? What happens when the world fades away and you are left with nothing but your thoughts, your emotions, and your soul? In these moments of solitude, something extraordinary stirs within you. It's not the performance you put on for others. It's not the version of yourself that seeks approval, validation, or attention. It's the raw, unfiltered version of you, the part of you that is often hidden behind roles, masks, and expectations. Have you ever felt a shift in your energy when you're alone? A sudden clarity that seems to rise from deep within, as if the noise of the world has been turned down, and all that's left is the truth of who you are. In these moments, the layers that shield you from your true essence begin to peel away, one by one. You are no longer distracted by the need to be seen, to be admired, or to be loved. Instead, you are simply being. And in that being, something profound begins to awaken. What awakens in you when no one is watching is not an ego-driven desire to be more, to be better, or to be anything other than what you are. It's the quiet recognition of your own worth, the realization that you are enough in your solitude. It's the awakening of your soul, free from the pressures and judgments of the world around you. When no one is watching, you are free to explore the depths of your own heart without fear of criticism or rejection. You are free to acknowledge the parts of you that have been hidden in the shadows, the pain, the dreams, the desires that you've kept locked away for fear of judgment. In solitude, those parts of you can no longer be ignored. They rise to the surface, and with them comes the opportunity for healing, for growth, for self-love. In those quiet moments, your intuition becomes clearer, your soul speaks louder, and you begin to hear the wisdom that has been there all along. Without the distractions of the world, you can tune into the deeper knowing that resides within you. You can hear the whispers of your true path, the guidance that has been waiting for you to listen. And yet, this awakening is not always gentle. Sometimes, when no one is watching, the most uncomfortable truths come to the surface. The parts of you that you've hidden away, the fears you've avoided, the wounds you've ignored, they begin to show themselves. And in those moments, you are faced with a choice to face them and allow them to transform, or to push them away once again. But the beauty of this process is that you are not performing for anyone. There is no audience to impress, no applause to seek. It is simply you, standing in your own truth, in your own energy, without the need for external validation. This is where true growth happens, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when you are free to be who you truly are. Have you ever noticed that when you are alone, you feel more connected to your intuition, more in touch with your inner knowing? It's in these moments that you can hear your soul clearly. The distractions fade away, and you are left with the essence of who you are, a being of light, of wisdom, of boundless potential. What awakens in you when no one is watching is your most authentic self. It's the part of you that is not defined by the opinions of others, by the expectations of society, or by the roles you've been taught to play. It's the part of you that is pure and untamed, waiting to be recognized, waiting to be embraced. So, the next time you find yourself alone, take a moment to reflect. What is stirring within you in the silence? What parts of yourself are waiting to be awakened? What truths are you ready to face? In those moments, when no one is watching, you are meeting yourself in the most profound way, and that is where the real transformation begins. In the quiet spaces where the world falls away and you are left with only your thoughts, it's easy to believe that you are alone. The silence can feel deafening, the solitude overwhelming. But what if this silence is not a sign of abandonment? What if it is, in fact, the space where the truest parts of you are waiting to be heard? You are never truly alone, not in the way you think. In those moments when you feel disconnected, when the world seems distant, remember, the universe is always with you. Your soul is always within reach. The divine energy that flows through you is infinite. You are a thread in the great web of existence, and though the world may seem quiet around you, there is an unseen presence that supports you, that guides you, that loves you. Have you ever experienced a moment of deep connection, not with a person, but with the world around you? A fleeting sense of unity, of knowing that there is something greater than yourself at play? This is the truth. You are connected to all that is, to the vastness of the cosmos, to the energy that surrounds and supports life. Even when you are alone, you are part of this greater rhythm. You are never isolated. The feeling of aloneness often arises when we forget this truth, when we forget that our soul is tethered to the eternal, to the divine. We look outward for connection, for validation, for a sign that we matter. But the connection we seek is not found in the external world. It's found in the quiet places within us, in the whispers of our hearts, in the knowing that we are enough, just as we are. There is a sacredness in solitude. It is the moment when you are invited to return to yourself, to listen to the messages your soul is longing to share with you. It is in these times of aloneness that your inner wisdom rises to the surface, and you realize that you are never truly alone. You have always been whole. You have always been loved. Have you noticed how the more you connect with your inner self, the less you feel the need for external validation? In those moments of peace, of quiet connection with your soul, you realize that you do not need to be seen by others to know your worth. You do not need to be heard by the world to know that your voice matters. Your presence, your energy is enough. You are enough. And yet, when we think we are alone, it's easy to forget that this connection is not just within us. It is all around us. The energy of the universe is constantly flowing through us, supporting us, even when we cannot see it. Have you ever felt a sudden rush of inspiration, a deep knowing, a moment of peace wash over you when you least expected it? That is the divine presence, guiding you, reminding you that you are never alone. Even in the darkest moments, when you feel distant from the world and from yourself, remember, you are not abandoned. You are simply being called inward, to remember your true power, to reconnect with the energy that flows through you. You are a divine being, and your essence is never separate from the source. The divine presence is always near, even when the world is silent. It is in the rustle of the leaves, the warmth of the sun, the rhythm of your breath. It is in the stillness, in the sacred pauses between moments. You are part of the flow of life, and as long as you exist, you are never truly alone. So the next time you find yourself in solitude, take a deep breath and listen. The universe is speaking to you. Your soul is calling you home. You are not alone, and you never have been. You are part of something much greater, something eternal, and that connection will never fade.